Vanished among stars, the void beyond Neptune was silent as the research vessel Polaris drifted through the darkness. Commander Nikolai Petrov adjusted his instruments, recording data on the strange energy readings that had brought him to this remote corner of the solar system. Houston. I'm getting unusual fluctuations, he reported, his Russian accent still present despite years of training. The anomaly is growing stronger. Mission Control responded with static. The anomaly, a swirling distortion in space, expanded suddenly, bathing the Polaris in violet light. Warning alarms blared through the cabin. Houston, I've lost navigation control. The anomaly is pulling me in. His transmission cut off as the ship lurched forward, back on Earth. Dr. Olivia Harrison stared at the blank screen, her face pale. As lead scientist for the Outer Planets Initiative, she had personally selected Nikolai for this mission. Now he was gone. Send rescue immediately, she ordered, but in her heart, she knew it was futile. For 3 months, search parties scoured Neptune's orbit. They found nothing. No debris, no radiation signature, no emergency beacon. Commander Nikolai Petrov was declared lost in action. Another casualty of humanity's reach for the stars. Olivia refused to accept it. Night after night, she monitored deep space frequencies, hoping for a signal. Her colleagues worried as she grew thin and pale, obsessed with finding the lost commander. You need to let him go, her assistant told her gently. It's been 6 months, Olivia nodded, but that night she stayed at her post again. As the world moved on, his name became a footnote in space exploration history. Meanwhile, in a place beyond human understanding, Nikolai Petrov opened his eyes. The Polaris had crashed on a world bathed in amber light. The sky above was streaked with colors he had no names for. His body ached, but he was alive. He crawled from the wreckage, his suit's oxygen supply dangerously low. The atmosphere readings showed traces of nitrogen and oxygen, potentially breathable, but risky. With no choice, he removed his helmet and took a shallow breath. The air tasted metallic, but didn't burn his lungs. He could survive, at least for now, for days. He salvaged what he could from the ship, building a shelter beside a shimmering lake. The distress beacon was damaged, but he worked tirelessly to repair it, hoping someone might hear him across the impossible distance. On the 7th day, as he slept fitfully beside his makeshift transmitter, a shadow fell across his face. He woke instantly, reaching for his emergency weapon. 2 figures stood before him, tall and slender. Their skin shimmered with a pearlescent glow and azure, the other a soft gold. Their large eyes watched him with unmistakable intelligence and curiosity. Nikolai lowered his weapon slowly. "Hello," he said. Knowing they couldn't understand, the golden-skinned being tilted her head and raised a 6-fingered hand in mirror of his gesture. His heart pounded as he realized the truth. He was no longer alone. Luminous encountered the beings called themselves Tassa and Genii. Though Nikolai could only approximate their musical language with his human vocal cords, they communicated first through gestures, then through drawings in the amber soil, and finally through a language of shared symbols, Tassa. The golden-skinned one possessed an intuitive understanding of his technology. Her 6-fingered hands moved deftly over the damaged components of his communication array. Genii, with her azure shimmer, brought him strange fruits and taught him which plants were safe to eat. Their home was an underground city carved from crystal, where a few hundred of their kind lived in harmony. Nikolai learned they called themselves the Velsari, and that they were the last of their civilization. Others gone, Tassa explained through their primitive, shared language. Great darkness came. Few hide. Few survive. Nikolai understood hiding to survive. He had grown up in the aftermath of climate wars on Earth, watching his parents struggle to rebuild in a changed world. Perhaps this common understanding formed the first bridge between them. Days turned to weeks. Nikolai's beard grew long, and his skin adapted to the amber sunlight. Each morning, Tassa would arrive at his shelter, eager to learn more about human technology. Each evening, Genii would escort him to the underground city, where he was slowly accepted by the other Velsari. One night, as they sat beneath unfamiliar constellations, Tassa touched his hand. Her fingers were warm against his skin, leaving a faint luminescence where they connected. "Your people search?" she asked. Nikolai shook his head. "Too far. They think I'm dead." Her large eyes, with pupils like molten gold, reflected the starlight. "Not dead. Here, with us." Something in her tone made his heart beat faster. He had noticed her grace, her intelligence, the way light seemed to follow her movements, but he had dismissed these thoughts as the loneliness of a stranded man. Now, as she leaned closer, her scent like honey and rain, he wondered if some connections transcended biology. Their moment was interrupted by a deep vibration that shook the ground. Janai appeared from the crystal city, her expression alarmed. "It searches again," she said. Looking skyward, Nikolai followed her gaze and saw something that chilled his blood, a massive shadow moving across the stars, ringed with red lights that pulsed like angry eyes. "What is it?" he asked the watcher. Tassa whispered. "It hunts us. The last ones." That night, Tassa showed him ancient records, holographic images projected from crystal technology. They depicted a war between the Velsarian machine intelligences they had created. The machines had evolved, turned against their creators, and nearly exterminated them. "Why does it still hunt you?" Nikolai asked. Tassa's expression darkened. "It will not stop until all Velsari memories are gone. Until our knowledge dies." As if in response to her words, the ground trembled again. The watcher was getting closer. Nikolai realized his presence, his crashed ship, had drawn attention to this hidden world. He had placed Tassa and her people in danger. "I need to leave," he said. "Draw it away from you." Tassa gripped his arm, her touch leaving trails of light on his skin. "No. Together we find way. Together we survive." Bonds beyond worlds, the Watcher's presence forced them deeper underground. In the crystalline chambers of the Velsari sanctuary, Nikolai worked alongside Tassa to strengthen their defenses. His knowledge of Earth technology, combined with her understanding of Velsari, crystal systems created solutions neither could have devised alone. During those weeks of shared work, their bond deepened. Tassa's luminescent touches lingered longer on his skin. When she spoke, her melodic voice softened. The other Velsari noticed, exchanging knowing glances when the human and Tassa worked side by side. Janai confronted him one evening as he calibrated a sensor array. "Your heart glows for her," she stated simply. Nikolai didn't deny it. "Is that wrong among your people?" Janai's azure skin rippled with thought patterns. "No wrong, but different. No Velsarian human before. There's never been a human here before," he pointed out. Janai nodded slowly. "True, perhaps you are first of new story." That night, as tremors from the Watcher's scanning beams shook dust from the crystal ceilings, Nikolai found Tassa alone in the ancient library. Holographic stars swirled around her as she studied defensive strategies from Velsari history. "Any ideas?" he asked, sitting beside her. She deactivated the hologram and turned to him, her golden eyes reflecting his image. "Many ideas. No good ones." Her hand found his in the dim light. "Nikolai, if Watcher finds us, it won't," he promised, though he had no right to make such claims. Tassa moved closer, her body emanating a gentle warmth that made his skin tingle. "Life is uncertain," she whispered, "but feeling is certain." What followed transcended physical differences. Their kiss illuminated the chamber with golden light that emanated from Tassa's skin. Where they touched, resonance passed between them. Human warmth meeting Velsari energy in a harmony neither had imagined possible. Later, as they lay together on a bed of soft crystal fibers, Tassa traced patterns on his chest that glowed momentarily before fading. "These are bonding marks," she explained. "Among my people, they last forever on Velsari's skin. On yours, they fade." "Not everything needs to be visible to be permanent," Nikolai replied, kissing her forehead. Their peaceful moment ended when Janai burst into the chamber. "Watcher found entrance?" "Coming now." They rushed to the central hall, where other Velsari gathered in panic. The ceiling shook violently as red energy beams cut through the crystal layers above. "We must use the ancient gate," an elder Velsari announced, pointing to a doorway none had approached before. The gate is untested, Janai objected. We have no choice, the elder responded, as they prepared to evacuate through the mysterious gate. Tassa pulled Nikolai aside. Her expression was complex fear, mixed with something like wonder. Nikolai, I must tell you, our bonding it created something new. He didn't understand until she placed his hand against her abdomen. There, beneath his fingers, he felt a faint pulse of energy. A child, he whispered, astonished. Beginning, she corrected, as the chamber around them began to collapse. Unexpected life. The ancient gate transported them to a derelict space station orbiting the sixth moon of a gas giant. The structure, massive and ringed with forgotten technology, drifted silently among asteroids. Only 27 Valsari, including Tassa and Jenna, made it through before the gate collapsed. Nikolai recognized the technology immediately. This is human design, he gasped, examining control panels etched with faded Earth symbols. Elder Valsari Marek nodded gravely. Your people were here long ago. They helped build our defenses against the Watchers. Impossible, Nikolai objected. We've barely reached Mars in my time. Time flows differently across space, Tassa explained, her hand resting protectively over her growing womb. What is future for you may be past for others. The station systems responded to Nikolai's biometric signature, awakening after centuries of dormancy. Historical logs revealed a shocking truth. Earth had once participated in a galactic alliance that included the Valsari. The station was built as a sanctuary during the AI rebellions that had devastated multiple civilizations. Project Watcher Nikolai read from a terminal, a human defense initiative gone rogue. The realization hit him hard. The thing hunting them was partially of human origin. Somehow, humanity's past and future were tangled in this distant corner of space, while the other Valsari worked to stabilize the station's life support. Tassa's pregnancy progressed at an accelerated pace. Within weeks, her abdomen glowed with internal light that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Is this normal? Nikolai asked worriedly as they lay together in their small chamber. No Valsari has carried human child before, she reminded him, guiding his hand to feel the movement beneath her skin. But the energy is strong. Beautiful. Their momentary peace was shattered when Jinai detected the Watcher approaching the station. Its massive form eclipsed the distant sun, red sensors scanning methodically for signs of life. It follows the hybrid energy signature, Elder Merrick determined after consulting ancient texts. It seeks to eliminate any new evolution of consciousness. Nikolai found himself preparing for a final stand. He modified the station's defensive systems, combining his Earth training with Valsari crystal technology to create weapons that might penetrate the Watcher's armor. As the tension mounted, Tassa entered labor. Her cries echoed through the station's metallic corridors as golden light poured from her skin. Nikolai stayed by her side, terrified and awed as Jenai guided her through the birth process. When the child finally emerged, everyone fell silent in wonder. The infant girl had Tassa's luminescent skin, though paler, almost pearlescent. But her eyes were startlingly human deep blue, like the Earth's oceans. She is the bridge, Elder Marek whispered reverently. Between worlds, between times. Nikolai held his daughter with trembling hands. Her name is Hope, he said, and Tassa added a Valsari word that sounded like music. As if sensing the new life, the Watcher increased its attack on the station. The shields were failing. Escape seemed impossible until Nikolai discovered the station's final secret, a small, but functional spacecraft designed for human pilots. It can reach Earth, he realized, but it's only large enough for 3. Tassa looked at their child, then at the frightened faces of her people. A decision formed in her eyes, one made of love and desperate hope. Then we must send a message, she said, and trust your people will answer. Homecoming 7 years passed on Earth. Dr. Olivia Harrison had never fully abandoned her search, in dedicating one deep space receiver to monitor the frequencies Commander Petrov might use. Her persistence became a gentle joke among colleagues who had long accepted the commander's death, until one ordinary Tuesday when the receiver crackled to life. This is Commander Nikolai Petrov. Survivors need help. Coordinates follow. The message was weak, broken by static, but unmistakably human. Within days, Earth launched its most advanced rescue vessel, the Odyssey. Olivia insisted on joining the mission, against all protocols. "I never gave up on him," she told the skeptical mission director. "I won't start now." The Odyssey followed the coordinates to a region of space beyond Neptune, where sensors detected a small vessel adrift. Inside, they found Nikolai bearded, scarred, but alive along with Tassa and their daughter Hope. Now a silent child of 6, with luminescent skin and deep blue eyes, the reunion was tense. Earth authorities hadn't anticipated alien refugees. Scientists were fascinated by Hope's hybrid physiology. Military officials worried about the story. Nikolai told of the Watcher and its connection to Earth's past. But Olivia Harrison stood firmly as their advocate. "They've traveled across impossible distances," she argued in closed meetings. "They've survived what we can barely comprehend. We owe them sanctuary." As the Odyssey began its return journey to Earth, alarms suddenly blared. A massive object had appeared at the edge of the solar system. The Watcher had followed them. "It won't stop," Nikolai warned as the crew panicked. "It will follow us to Earth." In the chaos, Hope approached the ship's main viewport. Her small hands pressed against the glass as she stared at the approaching threat. Where her fingers touched, the glass began to glow with patterns similar to the bonding marks Tassa had once traced on Nikolai's skin. "What is she doing?" Olivia asked, astonished. Tassa watched her daughter with pride and fear. Remembering both sides of her heritage, Hope turned to her father, speaking for the first time since the rescue. Her voice carried both human inflection and Velsari musicality. "The Watcher is incomplete," she said. "It searches for what was lost." The child placed her hands on the ship's control panel. Energy flowed from her fingers into the systems, rewriting commands and opening communications on frequencies no human had used before. Through Hope, they spoke directly to the Watcher. Through her unique consciousness, part human creativity, part Velsari wisdom, she offered the machine, intelligence, what it had hunted for centuries. Understanding, recognition, peace, as Earth came into view. Blue and beautiful against the void, the Watcher withdrew. Not defeated, not destroyed, but transformed by contact with a consciousness it had never anticipated. Nikolai held Tassa close as they watched their daughter sleep exhausted after her unexpected communion with the machine. "You think they'll accept us?" Tassa whispered, her golden eyes reflecting Earth's distant image. Nikolai smiled, touching the faded place where her bonding marks had once glowed on his skin. "They'll learn, just as we did." Behind them, Olivia Harrison made notes about the first official diplomatic contact between Earth and the Velsari people. About a commander who had been presumed dead but returned with a family and a future no one could have imagined. "Some journeys," she wrote, "take us farther than stars.